Business FM.
It is Mira Business FM. My name is Tim Elliott. That was an excerpt of an interview with Ramez Naam. He is a science fiction author, best-selling author, to be fair, and also a futurist here last week in Dubai at the Futurist X Summit at the Jumeirah Beach Hotel. And a fascinating guy. On top of that, a really good guy to chat to as well. It's AI once again now, in slightly more detail, the application of AI to be exact. Fahd Shakir is the general manager of a new venture. Deep Scale is the name, which is a tremendous name. It's very kind of futuristic, as you would expect. Fahd, lovely to see you.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to see you again.
Really good to have you here. Now, look, I'm going to set you a mission today for the next, 25 minutes, 27 minutes, however long we've got. Should you choose to accept it, of course, you are our AI guy for that period of time. So you're the guru now.
Oh, okay. I absolutely refuse to accept this, but I'll talk.
I know you'll talk and tell us some stories. Just for today, look, when we first met, you were heading up an AI venture, LifeX, which is, how do you best describe that? It was a wellness endeavor, really.
It was basically a different way of approaching longevity and using AI to really kind of accelerate that. There's so much data in longevity right now. There's so much data that a person has. It's just, like the amount of information that your heartbeat, your, all kinds of things, like your sleeping, your exercise, all sorts of stuff. And it becomes overwhelming. So the idea was with LifeX to create a different way to, or not a different way, but just consolidate all the data, make it simpler, make it easier for people to actually use that data for, living longer, having a better life, and being able to just kind of, accomplish all your goals.
Because we're not that far away, are we? Lots of people wearing, I don't know, a smartwatch or a smart ring or whatever. The wearables now are very good at tracking certain things. I wear one because I had some surgery recently. I wasn't sleeping, so I thought, I'll get a watch, I'll track my sleep, I'll try and train myself. And it's kind of worked. But more and more people are doing that. And the more we can use that data, we are going to live longer, aren't we?
Well,
in theory, or we could.
that's a plan, I suppose. And really, the main thing about all of that was it wasn't just about living longer. I mean, there's a lot of ways to live longer. Where you can kind of be like a comatose person on a bed, but it's about living longer, better. That's the real idea. You don't want to be bedridden, for the last 10 years of your life. You want to be able to actually interact with your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. That's the real crux of it. Living better.
So the science of genetics, the collection of data, and the art of healthy living, kind of all mixed up and blended together, really.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're now the GM of a new startup, Deep Scale AI Services. I gather is the overall umbrella name.
Yes.
Dubai-based,
Yes.
focuses on building communities rather than replacing humans, which sounds good because we're all afraid that AI is going to take everything we have. But what does that really mean?
That's exactly it. It's the idea that everybody right now is afraid of AI. Like a lot of people, not everybody, a lot of people are afraid of AI. That all the, everything that you hear is it's going to be taking people's jobs, replacing people, all this sort of stuff. And people that actually use AI, a lot of them realize that it's a tool. It's a fantastic tool, but it's not being marketed as such. A lot of the stuff that is being created is going to help out just a handful of really rich people. And that's a problem for most people. So what we're trying to do, that's our explicit goal, that's our North Star, that we are going to create AI that benefits people, like that actually helps your average everyday person as opposed to just a handful of people. That's the main idea. So community building, one of the things is, I don't have kids, but I have lots of friends who have kids. And they tell me about like, oh man, my kid is just playing on the phone all day long. They're just on the computer all day long. They're always just they're just away from, other people.
It's a familiar story.
Exactly. So the idea is, okay, hold on. There's better ways to do this. Like AI doesn't need to pull you away from other people. Community after party, essentially one of the main things it's going to do is it's going to help you seamlessly make your actual real life digital in a very, very easy way where you're able to connect with people very, very simply. I don't want to go into too many details right now. We're still building out some of this stuff. But the main idea is, as opposed to, okay, you post something on Instagram, for example, and, there you go, that's your community building. You might never meet these people. No, this is going to be based on something that works in real life, where you're actually meeting people in real life. And how do you connect with them easier? How do you make it last a little bit longer? That's the idea of after party. Like, you go to an event, you do something, you go to a concert, you go to like a friend's house for heck, make 2 or 3 people, and what happens afterwards? That's the idea. Building that community from just an event, building it from real personal contact with people, and then expanding it out. And we've got a couple ways that, our AI will be able to help with that, but not in an intrusive way where you're staying home.
You see, this is the thing at the moment, isn't it? In lots of ways with social media, it's kind of in a lot of ways, it's a chore.
Yes.
I think, and if you could take that away. So after party AI is your kind of first product. Is that a reasonable way to describe it?
Essentially, yeah.
That's kind of the core of what you're doing at the moment. You're in the early stages. When I searched deep scale AI services, and Bing gave me dentist services, so clearly I need a teeth clean or something. I don't know, but what makes it more? That kind of makes it more interesting in a way, because I get the chance to talk to somebody who is building an AI entity from the ground up. And on LinkedIn, you're categorized in terms of the industry you belong to as a social networking platform. So a million questions arise, because I'm, I post about things, and it is still a little bit, I've got to type this, I have to type it, and it's not as easy as it should be. Mm-hmm. Partly that's generational, my age group and everything else, but partly it is because it is a bit of a chore.
Yeah.
So you're going to try and take that away.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
There are so many things that AI can do to make your life easier, right? And that's the idea. As opposed to replacing you entirely, let's find all these like small little pain points, little friction that keep you from doing stuff. So that's the idea. It's just kind of seeing where AI can actually take those things away, the problems, the issues, the obstacles, and let you actually live. That's the main thing.
Okay, so what can you tell me? I know you don't want to give all your secrets away. What can you tell me in terms of how that will work? Would it be, just nod if you don't want to use any, if you don't want to verbalize it. Will it, I don't know, create posts for me depending on the pictures I've taken, and it would, offer me a way and a place to post that? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Not necessarily, no. No, that's not so much, like there's a million different AIs out there that will help you curate your social media like presence, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to go after that.
Okay.
Lots of people do it better than us. Great for them. So ours is going to be more about actually building the communities, building the connections. That's really where we're trying to find like our niche, essentially.
Okay, so expand on that a little bit. So you're building a community of like-minded people, and this would include, I guess, your friends, your colleagues,
Exactly.
your connections of your colleagues at work. So it broadens a network?
Yes, exactly. So it's not necessarily, it's very, very, very frictionless way of expanding your network. That's a really good way to put it, really. Anything from like a small party that you might go to like a large convention that you might attend, there's going to be people that you meet that you're like, okay, this was a very interesting person. But, so what we're going to do is make it much more easier for you to connect with them based on that specific event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So,
okay.
like, I could go to like a birthday party for like a friend's, kid or something like that. I'll meet a couple of interesting people there, and then I'm like, okay, hold on, let me go get their information. Let me do this. Let me figure out when. I went to Art Dubai, and I met like maybe 100 different artists, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. I really loved the whole experience. Art Dubai and World Art Dubai 2025, and I met maybe like 100, 150 different artists. Problem is, I got most of their cards, I got their Instagram, I got their business cards, I got all kinds of other information. I've probably kept in touch with maybe 3 of them.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel bad about that. Like, there's so much more that I could have done. Like, when you were asking me a little bit earlier, before we started, how did I actually get this position? That's really what it was. It was just an idea of a friend of mine knew another friend of mine that was like, hey, we need to get this done. Do you know anybody? They're like, oh, yeah. I know this guy. He's pretty good at this. Maybe you'd like to meet with him. And that's it. It was just a network effect, right?
Yeah.
So that's such a valuable thing. Like when people are looking for jobs, people are looking for all kinds of things, the network is really what saves most people. That's where...
See, that really helps me because it's very hard to get a really clear picture. And I know there are things that you can't say, and I appreciate that. But it's hard to get a clear picture of what you're trying to do. But when you frame it in those terms,
Yes.
it kind of crystallizes. Because you're absolutely right. You know what it's like? You go to an event and you come back with cards, and you think, right, I'm going to file that, and I'll the input will happen, and it never does.
Right, exactly, exactly. So the after party is basically the idea that you build these communities afterwards.
Okay. All right then. So, how far away are you from launch? When is it imminent?
We are probably about 3 months away from launch.
Okay.
3 months away, well, 3 months away from our proper MVP, like that we can actually show to people and get some initial feedback from. So yeah, 3 months from, not launch, 3 months from MVP.
Okay. So
Yeah, we're still very early.
well, I know. I mean, literally, you on LinkedIn, I think it says August 2025.
Yeah.
But talking to you earlier,
Yes.
it's really from this month. Early in September, is it not? That
Yes.
you've got going. Okay. So we need to come back and talk to you. In terms of progress so far, how's it been in the office? I mean, what's the feeling in the office? Is it a bit, is there a building excitement?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's like that's the best part of the startups is the initial ideas where people get together and like, okay, I can see this working. I can really see how we're going to execute this and where we can create something that will actually make a difference, right? So right now, everybody's excited. There's still some extra parts where I'm still trying to like flesh out our team, but other than that, like great CTO, really really happy about this guy. So, yeah, I'm very, very confident. Like everybody in the team is just very, very confident that we're going to be able to pull this off in a way that we're all happy about it. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's always, I've worked with a number of different startups, and the beginning phases are always everybody's happy, everybody's excited. Let's see what happens when our first couple of obstacles run up, and, let's see how we handle them. So that's the thing. Like we have an experienced group that I think we can not easily, but we should be able to like work around any problems like that. So everything is good right now.
I mean,
I'll let you know in a couple months.
Well, let's see if you're still smiling as broadly in a couple of months. But it's really important, isn't it? And I think that's another really interesting point, that when you start something, I've worked for a company in really nascent stages once before, many years ago, but it was really important at that point, as you grew, as you scale, to have the right people.
Yes.
Because the wrong one person can often throw the whole thing off.
Yes.
Recruitment is hard.
Recruitment is very hard. So before I took on this role, I talked to a bunch of my friends that have launched successful startups, and every single one of them was like, okay, the hardest part for you is going to be building up your team, and it is like there's another project that we're actually working on that will help us with this, but this is maybe a year down the line.
You know I'm going to ask you about that as well now, don't you?
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, okay, I'll tell you this. The 9 to 5 concept for me doesn't work anymore. Like where people go work for a company from 9 to 5, so much of that is changing. Like your average person doesn't want to do that, especially technical folks. They're like, wait a second, I can work on 5, 6, 7. I don't know if you heard about like the guy that was working for like 15 or 20 different companies at the same time. He was a scam artist, I believe. I'm not sure. I'm not going to say anything definitively. But he was basically just finding a whole bunch of startups and saying, hey, I want to work for you. And they would hire him because he just sounded like he knew how to get hired, but nothing would really get done. But he was still working for like 15 different groups. And he had just enough competence that he could convince them that he was a legit person. But based on that, when I first heard that story, I thought that was hilarious, but also kind of like, okay, wait, hold on. That's me. I got to find talent myself. But then I looked at then I found out there's other folks that do this where they're working for like 4 or 5 companies at the same time, but they have to be quiet. They have to be secretive about it because there's so many, very few people are like, hey, I want you to work on something completely different for a completely different person at the same time that you're working with me. Like there's confidentiality issues, there's all sorts of other regulatory stuff that probably goes into it. But it's fighting like a natural thing almost. It's like, okay.
it's really hard to kind of legislate for the creative process as well, isn't it? And where do ideas come from? And I mean, famously, songwriters who keep a pad by the bed wake up in the middle of the night with a tune. Paul McCartney's talked about it many times and will hum it into their phone or previously a tape recorder, whatever. It's hard to frame that within the restriction of 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And every team, every person that I've like interviewed essentially that I've told about this has been like, okay, I really like this concept where we would essentially create a better way to develop contracts, like employment contracts, where you are able to not just work with multiple groups at the same time, but it's not as burdensome for the founder essentially. That's out like or like the investor that's putting out the money, so they don't have to take on like the huge burden initially. But it also lets the developers themselves get a piece of equity, not equity necessarily. It's a different way of doing it. The main concept is it gives actual employees flexibility in doing what they want to do and
Sure.
not being restricted by contracts or like okay. So there was a friend of mine that told me he could work on a project for me, but he would only want to work like maybe 3 or 4 hours per day at most. He's like, anything more than that, I'm wasting your money, I'm wasting my time. Like there's just nothing else that I would do in that time that would really benefit you or me. So I don't want to work for you full time just because of that. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I really like this dude. I want him to work for me, but I don't want to pay him, like a full salary for 3 hours of work a day. That's no, it doesn't really make sense. But it does kind of make sense. So I'm like, okay, we were building out a product that would kind of codify the compensation essentially, but in a different way than is being done right now by anybody. And there's a few different regulatory bodies in a couple of different countries that we're looking at that might help us with this. So that's where we're like, okay, we might be able to do something really, really, really interesting. But this is maybe 6-7 months down the line.
It's a difficult thing to do. Flexibility is more and more important in workplaces, and more employers work in that way. They allow remote working, and they understand that I don't know, you pick up the kids, you've got other things going on in your life,
Right.
And people will deliver at certain times. It's that kind of. It's about trust, isn't
Yes.
it? And that's a two-way thing, and I think that's very hard for employers. We're paying you for this, and you've got to work these hours, and the obligation to do that. You have to trust in the person, and once again, you go back to recruitment is hard.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is an easy way to be able to, especially give younger, younger developers and younger employees essentially a chance to do something without exploiting them. That's the last thing we want to do is exploit people. That's such an awful thing. Like, no, we've all been in that place where we needed work, so we took on some random stuff that kind of wound up being like, okay, it's way less than I'm worth, but I need it for experience, blah, blah, blah. No, there should be a better way to do it, and that's kind of what we're trying to get to, where it kind of benefits everybody at the same time, and it really, we still have to see how well it actually plays out. I mean, I'd love to say that, this is going to be the best way to move forward as far as like creating projects, getting them delivered and all that stuff. That's still something we have to see. But I do believe there's a better way to change that, to change the way that we actually work.
I would kind of agree with you. I mean, we haven't known each other that long, but I know enough about you to know that you talk a lot of sense, fairly intelligently. And I don't mean that you're talking a game, because you're not. And I like the idea of that. What another thing that interests me, Fahd, is talent here in the UAE, where you get the talent from, because this is a fairly grand plan in lots of ways. This is a new idea, after party AI. It's kind of a Silicon Valley kind of idea, really, to me, in my head. I could imagine it in San Francisco, but you're doing it here in Dubai.
Yeah.
It's a testament to where we are now, as much as anything, but it really relies on the right talent at the right time and building something. How easy is it to find the right people?
It's not easy at all. Everybody is, Well, one thing about Silicon Valley, there's a lot of people that are leaving the U.S. right now, which I'm kind of, a lot of
There's
my
been a
family's there.
visa issue, hasn't there,
Yeah,
recently?
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So like it's going to improve, but as far as like actually finding people here, like there's a couple of really great benefits to Dubai. Is that it is very easy to like get stuff like started.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are people from like I love the diversity of Dubai. Like there's so many people from all over the world. The problem is that everybody's obviously everybody's trying to survive. Everybody's in survival mode most of the time, it feels like. And they're going to, um, exaggerate a little bit on their capabilities. So that's really what the biggest issue
That's the CV game, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. And then I completely understand where they're coming from. Like, yeah, everybody got to make money, everybody has to eat. But at the same time, it does cause problems where the wrong employee at the at the wrong time can completely derail a project almost. Especially now that we're working with smaller and smaller teams, you don't need like a huge studio anymore. You don't need like 100 employees. You can do a lot of stuff much faster. Things move much faster. So the wrong person at the wrong time can really break a lot of things.
Yeah.
Not just as far as like the product isn't going to be ready, but I've had employees where it was kind of like just their attitude infected everybody else. And
It's a very real thing. It happens. It really does happen.
yeah. But at the same time, there's so much diversity here. You really do have to kind of, I think here more than anywhere else, you have to rely on on your network. You have to rely on other people's opinions of like, okay, this person is a decent person. You should bring this person on. Even if it might cost a little bit more, you should bring this person on. It will save you a lot of headache in the long run. It'll save you time. So, yeah,
I mean, you're a big believer in that. I know that from knowing you, the connections that you make. And I think you're a person that makes very personal connections. It's not, I'm online, I'll send you a message. You're a person who sits and wants to talk about things, wants to talk about stuff that matters.
Yes.
Not, the frivolous stuff that very often kind of conversation can be. But you can't I don't think you can overplay the importance of those connections because word of mouth, to me at least, is still the way that it's the way that we bring guests into the studio here, for example. It'll be, we need to be talking about X topic, and I'll think, I know a guy that knows about that, and I'll call him or her. And, that's still really important because the one thing about human beings is, particularly in a city like this with 180 nationalities, whatever it is communication is still pretty important. And direct communication is even more important.
Absolutely. But I don't want to. Personal connection is really, really important. I love being able to like actually talk to a person, being able to see them in person.
We've noticed.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not gonna take away from everything is remote. I know a lot of folks. My sisters absolutely do not refuse to work from an office. They want to work remotely. Yeah. It's so much easier, and I completely understand that. Yeah. Being able to have like Zoom or Google Meetups, or Microsoft Teams, whatever meetings online, yeah, that works too. There is, and I know people that will have their cameras turned off. Well, they do not want to be seen even on the camera when they're talking and stuff. So there is. It's just about building your connection however you can. That's the key thing. As much as I love personal connections, the world is very, very vast. And I can talk to somebody in Singapore tomorrow. I can talk to somebody in Germany, and like a developer in Venezuela. And that's actually how a lot of my stuff got started. I worked for. He passed away a while back, but. When I was in the U.S., a consultant came to us and said, "Hey, I really like what you're doing as far as being a liaison between me and my, like your management team. If you ever leave the U.S., come work with me." And I'm like, "Okay." I did leave for Ecuador for a little while, and when I hit him up, I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he showed me, I've got a developer in Venezuela, I've got a programmer in India, I've got a graphic designer in Belarus, and it was just this fantastic group. I'd never met any of them in person, but like actually talking to them, it was like, okay, why are you good at what you do? And a couple of them were not good at what they did, but most of them were amazing. Like one of the best developer I ever met was this lady in India that I'd never met in my life. I don't think I've even seen a picture of her, but just on email, but just on everything else. And some of it is experience as far as like management, as far as, like being able to say, okay, this person is competent. They're going to be able to get me what I need as quickly as possible, or as in the quality that I want. And some of it is just kind of luck, I guess, where you're hoping that they'll be able to pull it off.
Would you say one of your skills is that ability to manage and liaise and bring things together? Because that's kind of the picture you're painting.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's like that's probably the one thing that I'm good at more than anything else. I don't want to be, I don't want to be one of those boasting people. But like, I think that's one of the things I've really always enjoyed, and kind of prided myself on, and like being able to bring together the right people for the right, in the right way to create something that's a little bit more so than individual parts.
Which
like
is,
selling the whole.
that's a really useful skill, because, you've got to make it work for you, particularly when you're working with people remotely. I mean,
Exactly.
that's a really important thing. I want to talk to you about community, because After Party AI is really about building a community.
Yes.
And there are a number of things about that, but the first thing is really, where do you start when it comes to building a community these days? Because there is so much talked about. I'm part of this community. I'm going to build this. I'm going to do this. My community's here. Where did you start? Where are you starting? Sorry.
Okay, so it kind of started with like a film society, like there's a little group here where, they basically just show like these, mostly like Iranian films, but these other different like, multinational films.
Okay.
And it came from that, like where I went to these things, and all of a sudden it was like, okay, this is an amazing film. I really liked watching it. I want to discuss it with people. And then like there was nobody there to discuss it with. So it was like, hold on, something is missing, right? But from there, I started meeting, that's how I met this group. And then all of a sudden I'm like discussing stuff with them. And one of them was like, oh yeah, we're talking about something else. We're like, by the way, we do this over here. You might want to come check it out. So I went to the next thing, and I think that's actually where I met you, is one of Nasser's little groups.
It was NASA Bostan you're talking about. He was
Yeah.
here last week talking about
Exactly.
AI in the usual kind of NASA terms. It's very much big picture
Exactly.
stuff. But no, you're right, and I can see how those kind of tentacles spread.
And somewhere along the line, I started realizing, okay, hold on a second. This is so much more fun than anything else I'm doing. But it's not just like one and done. I'm meeting these people and that's it. I want to be able to actually, like Nasser's a good friend of mine. He's in Singapore right now. But we're still talking. We're still making sure, like building up all our AI stuff together where we can. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't met him at this random community, or not a community, this event. But afterwards, making sure that, hey, let's actually keep in touch. Let's actually keep in touch, because we have similar ideas and some not so similar ideas.
But this is the thing, isn't it? It's if you're going to build community and build connections, there's always that thing. You meet somebody, and it's let's keep in touch. Give me your number. And how many of us actually do that?
Yes, exactly. And that's where some of After Party will make it so that it's much, much easier to be able to handle all the annoying parts of that, let's say. So anything from like just connecting with, like, if you meet 20 people at a party, you're going to be able to connect with them very, very easily through After Party. That's one of the things that I can say. It's going to be almost instantaneous, no friction. We're not going to make it hard for you to have to go up to every single person and be like, hey, let me get your information, blah, 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 all of that stuff. Everything will be frictionless.
Do you know what would be really great about After Party? And I hope this is one of the things that it gets around, is when you meet people for the first time, you're introduced and you exchange names and what you do and all that kind of stuff. And then you meet them again and you're thinking,
where did I meet them?
Where did I meet
Yeah.
them? What's your name?
Exactly.
Oh, I don't know. And you have to do that horrible thing of, do you have your card or something? And then you quickly look at the card and the name appears and it all looks great. But if you can get around that, that would be a bonus.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like the number of people, I recognize his faces decently well, but the more people I meet, especially in Dubai, there's so many people, I will absolutely forget, like, oh no, I do not know who you are, and I'm trying to pretend I know who you are.
I'm really starting to see what you're trying to do. So the community is very much about just almost disparate connections coming together. It's almost kind of chance, isn't it? Really, that's kind of where it comes from. But then to define community once you've built it, I suppose it depends on the subject that you give it, or it's Iranian film discussion, or whatever it was for you. Community is one thing, AI is another thing. Fahd, more and more we're seeing our daily life and AI merged now. So what I did this morning was I searched news about AI. Just on Bing, I didn't use Google for a particular reason, just to do something different. Here's just 3 of the results. MSN story. AI drives interest in blue-collar jobs amongst Gen Z. I don't feel threatened was the headline, so positive headline. BBC headline, Emily Blunt among Hollywood stars outraged over the AI actor Tilly Norwood. This, I think it's a Swedish, and it's a Dutch comedian behind this actress who seems to be in different positions but isn't actually a real human being. And the Reuters story, Trump executive order aims to use AI to boost childhood cancer research. So very positive medical story from Reuters. What that gives you, though, and the reason I took those kind of top 3 search results was I felt like it gave me a pretty good example of AI areas. It is everywhere. But then I thought, how do you stand out? How are you looking to differentiate yourself from other AI startups? Because let's face it, there are many.
Yeah. Our primary thing is going to be create tools that people use to improve their lives. And there is a noticeable backlash against AI just because of that. Where, there's this fear, especially in the artist, the creative community, where, okay, you're being replaced. Nobody wants that. Nobody really is agreeing to that, where they're going to be kind of forced into, their whole life work essentially is going to be, taken away effectively. So the idea is we are going to create tools that actually help people build something more. And by doing that, it gives them more time to actually do a lot of things that we did. There's that thing about, there's a meme going around about AI was supposed to help me, clean the dishes and stuff like that, so I can make art instead of making art and have to code. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the meme is correct. So it is reversing that. It is creating ways that AI can maybe not do dishes, but make it more efficient, make it faster. That's the real thing. Like a lot of people look at it as AI as it's going to replace, but it should really be about making you more efficient and giving you more time back. That's really what the idea should be. And that's kind of where there's going to be other groups that are doing the same thing. And for us, it's just finding different specific use cases where we don't think anybody else is addressing it well enough. There might be other people doing it, but we want to just find those little groups, those little parts where, hey, you know what? This is, and a lot of it is going to be a personal experience where, this is a pain point that I have in my life where I think I wish this was easier. I wish I had more time doing other things if I didn't have to waste on this. So that's where, that's really what it comes down to. I do have a fear, essentially, that it's going to be harder and harder for a lot of AI startups, essentially, to create anything in the next year or so, couple years. Right. There's just so much money going into some of the big players. They can very, very easily co-opt what you're doing. They can easily take over. They can be like, all right.
It happened in the tech boom, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one of the projects that we were working on before, actually, it would have been such a great project. It would have helped so many scientists and research groups all over the world be able to access data that they wouldn't have had access to and create all these fantastic things. And then we found out there's another option that can be done so much cheaper than our option. Our IP is gone. It was a mess. But at the same time, that's human progress. So you can't even be that mad about it.
'Twas ever thus. We are so short on time. I want to talk to you about trust, all sorts of things. But Fahd, General Manager of Deep Scale AI, great to talk to you.
Absolutely. Bring me back on anytime you want.
We'll get you back. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM.